Hi guys, so today I'm going to show you how I deal with um, so I'm gonna do that. Um, okay, first thing I'm gonna do is it. Oops. Okay. Need to move this. Eh. So, okay, I changed this to edited mode, do control five. Okay, I was doing control shift five, not control five. So it looks like a um and and let me make sure that I know I don't have the third book. But do I have the first? No, I do not. So sorry guys, I didn't even explain what I was doing today. And um that is um going through my um oops, yeah, okay. Um going through my um my my digital um book journal here, and sorry, I'm trying to get um, my Spotify because normally when I do this as I read or I read, I listen to an audiobook, I listen to Spotify, so like a podcast or music. But since the music I listen to is most likely copyrighted, I'm gonna play a podcast in the background once I figure out where that's. There we go.
The basic premise.
You read the first one right whenever it came out.
Yeah,
like, it was like right when it came out.
Can you guys
So this
still
was like
hear
very
me?
fresh. I was like, oh my goodness, like I don't remember these, the Crimson Council and other things, but it didn't really matter because she explains everything's very, seamless. I should say.
Burn's a phenomenal writer, so you're not going to miss anything.
You're
She's
not
going to give it to you.
You're not going to be in the struggle bus at all.
No, you're not. Okay, so let's talk about our heroine, Cecilia Teague. Now, this series is about her and her Red Rogues. She and two of her friends they met when they were at this school for girls,
So
and they're all redheads, all different
next,
different shades
let
of
me
red.
show
And
you
kind of
how
hit a
I
pact in the
actually
beginning that they were never going to
do
marry.
it.
They were going to, go out and do good in the world.
They dub themselves the Red
book
Rogues.
Yeah, the Red Rogues.
Takes
That
a
was their
while.
little moniker. They're all very smart, especially Cecilia. She's really good at math.
Yeah, she's like a math genius.
Yeah, she's very, very good at that. But of course, in the first book, one of the Red Rogues falls prey to love, and she breaks her vow and marries Alexandra. So that's kind of where this book picks up. Is Alexandra is getting married, and I'm gonna skip the prologue because it gives a lot of interesting background for Cecilia. But I love Cecilia. She is a plus size heroine.
Yes.
Kerrigan Byrne wrote her very well, and I love the first meeting between Lord Ramsay and Cecilia because she's like eating these truffles.
Okay, there,
He's
that
been
with the
selling for the
so
past 7, almost 8 years. And so he's just like, of all the places to get an erection after 7 years, I'm watching a girl like eat
chocolate,
fucking chocolate, like it's her like last thing she'll ever get to do on this earth, and it's so erotic. He's like so enamored of her, but like it's so interesting because he's so strict on himself about vice. He doesn't like stuff that has to do with vice and pleasure and excess and all that jazz.
And he's the judge. He's like the local. What do they call him?
He's the Lord Chief Justice to the High Court.
Right.
And he's also the half brother to the Duke of Redmayne, which is Alexandra's husband now. So he's an elder half brother. We'll get into that too because it plays a lot into
what I do
personal conflicts and stuff like that.
is
so I just really love it because the pairing is so perfect. They're like kind of opposite. Cecilia, she is very like indulgent and she wants to live life to the fullest. Like she wants to experience life and it has a lot to do with her upbringing, and he's like very against that. And she doesn't like that she tempts him. So guys, if you have not read All Scott and Bothered, I highly recommend you do.
In here,
come back and chat with us. All right, guys, let's talk about that prologue.
Let's talk about the prologue. So let's first say, Kerrigan Byrne is famous.
So I am
gutting
currently
prologues. Always gird my loins.
It's always like this childhood trauma.
It is a trauma that lends the backstory to that character.
I will say that this one, she has gone heavy for a lot of her books, like very heavy for the trauma.
One of my favorites, The Hunter.
And I'm not trying to. The Hunter is brutal. It's fucking brutal, guys.
I was just thinking I want to reread it,
but I still love it. I know. Skip the prologue. We don't want to read him.
It hurts my heart.
I can't listen to Arjun go through that.
No.
You know? So,
oh my God, no.
And I don't want to downplay what Cecilia went through, but she's written
much
right. So this one is
ones.
This one is definitely it's obviously dark. It's she's in a neglected household. She's her father is the Reverend Teague. Okay, and so basically what happens is she gets a math theorem correct at age 13, and the teacher says, well, you're a liar because you're a girl and you're 13. There's no way you got it correct over the whole class. And so he calls her a liar, and then all these boys start picking on her out at, I guess, basically what's called recess. And one of them pulls down her drawers and bends her over like a bench or something, basically pulls up her skirt to show her drawers to like basically all these boys. Like, it's disgusting, And then what happens is the teacher tells the Reverend, and the Reverend punishes her. She's like, you're a whore just like your mother, and throws her into the dark basement, basically where he leaves her for days without water and food. He punishes her. Water. He gives her like one bucket, right? And when she's out, it's
she just stays there in her own filth.
Yes.
Like, it's just terrible.
Yes.
It's so terrible. And he's harping on her for being wicked
and
what's tempting. And she's chubby, and he like doesn't
it's like, no matter how much I starve you, you're still fat.
Yes,
like,
he tries to starve her, and then like we find out later, he's like, she sneaks out to get food. I'm like, it's 'cause you're fucking starving.
She's starving to death.
I'm like, he's so crazy. And
what I found so sad about that is, and this is very indicative of Cecilia's character, she's a very sweet, kind soul. Like, I feel like in today's world, she would be a social worker. She would be out there taking care of everyone else. She's so kind. Like, even as her father, who's not really her father, is abusing her and saying all these heinous things to her through the locked door, she puts her little head to the floor, like, please, Father, I'll be good. Like, she's so sweet. She's like begging him, like, I'll do anything to just not leave me. And just like
crap! I keep
instead of her becoming angry and hateful, she
before.
never loses that sweet soul.
She has a lot of resilience, and she turns out okay. Like, she turns out
I'm doing this in the right
especially after she meets Alexandra.
Exactly.
This is the right order that I do it.
This is a very interesting thing. Her father, who we find out who isn't actually her father.
Now these dates are just please. I'll come back and change them.
So there are these people coming to the house, and he hurries up and he puts like a bucket in there.
The reason why I make sure that
just in case stay down here.
Yeah, we don't even
this
know.
one,
These voices, and then all
this
of a sudden,
bold one,
the door opens, and there's this like drawling
number
American
one
accent, and this
is
woman named Jenny comes in here, and she's like, "We're taking her
like, go ahead.
daughter,
yeah,
and I knew your mom, so you're gonna come with us." And
I love she gets in a good slap before she leaves.
Oh my God, yes, does she get him a good slap, because he's spouting hateful things.
Normal text where
you stink, but I could see how you're so beautiful, just like a
that
perfect
and
little
it's
doll, like you're gorgeous. And
second.
she like tells Cecilia all these wonderful
So
things
when
about herself. She's just like, you don't listen to him, like you're
you'll see that
jealous, and
the
it's
second
disgusting.
wording
I'm
was
gonna take you away.
actually
And she like stays in like the nicest like
the
hotel.
first thing that
She like
popped
has
up
never
here.
seen this before,
That's
all of it's
not what
considered
I
like
want.
excess and vices
This,
and all that jazz. So that's like the thing about this book.
the screen part.
And the thing about it is,
This first
she's
screen
preached
part
at a very young
involved to
age
show
about
up.
avoiding all these things that are considered vices.
So
And then she's rescued and just shown like it's not bad to experience pleasure in life. It's joyful, and you don't know what the next day will bring.
Copy that code.
Right. So find your happiness.
Find your happiness. So
click on this,
tells
click
her that she has a
custom,
mysterious benefactor. She kind of assumes
and then
that,
let's
it must
paste,
be my real father, or
enter,
something.
and button with
She's installed in this
that
school.
part
And a
somewhere.
couple years later, she meets Francesca
Then
and
what we're
Alexandra,
gonna do?
fast friends.
And
she's going to university.
Yes, she's
more.
incredibly smart and so kind. And she loves helping other people. Like, that is her sole want in life, is to help other people, just like she was helping. And so in the beginning, when it's Alexandra's wedding, and
description
eating her chocolate truffles.
in
torturing Ramsay to death.
Yes, and like trying to tempt him to eat the truffles and stuff, and he's all being all stoic, and he's like, I don't indulge in anything ever. I'm not an indulger. It's so fucking great. Okay, so he's trying not to think about her, trying not to interact with her, but she keeps interacting with him.
And I love how she's just like, you don't want one little truffle, and everything to him sounds sexual. And he's like reading her, he's like, is she being suggestive? But she's not. She's just like, don't you want a chocolate truffle?
Yes. He's like, I can't tell if she's
like trying
saying this like as an innuendo. Like, what is happening? Like, is she offering me to lick her? What?
What's happening here? But it's because
Okay,
he's
so
enamored of her.
Yes.
He's enamored, and he even says
that's all
the
good
first time he
to
met her
go.
at the wedding, I think, or
We're gonna
engagement party
switch
Yeah,
this
before.
the first.
to that.
They had seen each other one other time. He said she caught his eye from across the room, so he never talked to her,
Dude,
but just like
this
he remembered
custom
how
dark
beautiful,
color
just like
right here.
she is the embodiment of like voluptuous, you know, voluptuous woman, decadence,
Then
you know,
underneath it, we're doing a back into this book journal info.
Loves it.
That I
And of course, like he's ready to just kind of like, okay, I can resist her. It's fine.
roll
I'm just not gonna pay
down,
attention to her. But this
grab
guy, Count Adrian
thoughts.
Mendiano, or however you say that,
let's call him the Count,
the Italian Count,
It's alright.
comes in and starts talking to her, and he does
Expedite.
not like this.
Kidding.
He's like, excuse me?
because like Count's like all being all like he touches her arm, and he's like, oh yes,
And
love.
he talks in innuendos and stuff like that.
I
Intentionally.
close down.
Intentionally. And he also just brings up, he asks her some questions that are quite impertinent and stuff. And so he comes,
Main
Nancy
document
ends up by
here
coming
for
to
a
her defense, being
second.
like, hey, that's rude.
Like, I know you may not know our customs, being a foreigner and all. He's like,
but that is incredibly rude to just ask her that stuff.
Because he asks her out for a stroll in the gardens. Like, she is an unchaperoned maid. She cannot do that. You know? And then that's when she steps in, she goes, I am my own woman and can do whatever I want. We're like, ooh, oh my goodness. You know, like it's
she
good.
has some backbone.
I have
backbone. So
33
that's the first
pages
time that they interact.
of
And then later, it's like, I think it's 3 months pass, and she finds out who her benefactor was.
Yeah, she's like arrives at this gaming hell.
Yeah, she's like, what the hell is
oh,
this?
Okay.
There
My
we go.
father owned a gaming hell.
So now everything's saved there.
But no, it's not her mother.
Back to good riddance.
No, not her mother. Her aunt. Her aunt owned the gaming hell.
So her mom, Hortensia, and her aunt Henrietta were twins. And they both were brought up. They were poor.
We don't quite know what happened to her mother.
Okay.
They don't really.
She must have gotten sick and passed away or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But they both grew up poor, and
go
her mom
ahead
ended up by
delete.
being shackled to
Reverend Teague.
Yes, and
Hortense went another direction.
This
She went
one
a completely different direction. She decided to become businesswoman, and
doesn't
built
there's
this whole
no space
system
in between
where
the heading
the
and
public
word that
place
goes
is a
underneath
gaming
it.
hell
Change
for women, and
that
the women are the
now
dealers and
stuff like that,
and they make money. And then downstairs is a school for women and girls.
Y'all, okay, I have to say, I love though our introduction to this because she goes into because she's supposed to like go to this is basically her Aunt Henrietta's room, you know, she's supposed to Ginny is coming to bring her this letter that she's supposed to read, you know, that was basically with the will. And she goes to the window. She's waiting, and
do this using
riding a man, vigorously
like
riding
Microsoft
in the
Word.
garden.
That's
And then when Ginny comes in and starts shouting at her, Lily, get off
like downloaded on my computer.
get the Earl, get him like done and get him out of here.
I choose to use Google
He goes, I'm coming too. We're both
Drive
coming.
or Google Docs, Google Drive, whatever you want to call it, because it automatically saves. So I don't sing every few steps.
She's like, is this a bar house? What's happening?
So before I made this recording, I actually made I made a total of
if they want to have lovers, like she's not, nobody's gonna throw her out. You know, they're not gonna be like, oh my god, you're a loose woman. They're fine.
They were protected.
So there was 2 edits, and then this is 70 edits.
We have school. Yeah. So I really like that.
And this is 1 edit, so 71 edits.
All of a sudden,
Ginny's like, oh my god, he's coming.
She's like, what?
The Vicar of Vice is on
And then
his way.
70.
They call him the Wolf, the Vicar of Vice,
3 edits so far today in total. Because this one, 70. Then we have 1 edit here. Then we have two edits there. So that's
yes, like rouged her lips and everything.
so that's
And she's
71,
reading her aunt's letter,
70.
and her aunt like tells her like, "I'm so sorry. I would have loved to have met you and all
No,
that jazz."
so
And then she
that's
also
70
says in
edits.
her letter, "I need you to take care of
71,
Phoebe, and I
70,
need you to
and then
not
this is
she's your sister in all
72,
but blood,
73.
and you need to keep her away from her brutish father." Okay, and so she's like, "Who the fuck is Phoebe? I don't know who Phoebe is."
Yeah.
And so she's sitting behind her desk, and she's like trying to calm herself down before this guy just like barrels in, and lo and behold, it's the word Ramsey, and so she has to stop herself. She's like, "Oh shit, I recognize him," and he is nothing like the very calm and collected man
that she saw at the
met.
party. Right, he's
fuming.
I mean, raging.
He's accusing her of being involved in the disappearances of these young girls.
Yes.
And so there was this young
selling
girl who
them
had
on
recently,
the flesh market.
Yeah, who had recently disappeared, and he's trying to find out where she is.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like threatening the hell out of her. And to disguise her voice because she doesn't want him to know it's her, she decides to adopt a French accent, and she names herself Hortensia Thistledown because her aunt's name was Henrietta Thistledown.
Yeah.
So she was like, "I just inherited
Okay.
this." And basically she puts him in his place. She does not back down.
Mm-hmm.
And she has a quip for everything that he says. And she's like, "I have to get to the bottom of this," because her aunt also gave her this coded book.
Mm-hmm.
And they know that there's
which is all the secrets of the city,
yes.
the men in the city that have come
because
there and whatever.
Of course, what perfect place to spill your dark, deep secrets than at a gaming hell.
Right. There's business deals that have taken place.
Yes.
And obviously under the table deals that have taken place.
Right. Like people in high
spill
places,
everything
high up places,
there.
Royalty have been there.
Oh yeah.
Later on, there's a scene where
it's like the heir to the throne comes stumbling down the.
I think. Well, it says okay.
I
I mean, this isn't important to the plot or anything, but later on, when she brings her girlfriends there to check it out, they recognize her like, "Oh my god, he's here!" And he's not first in line to the throne, so I don't think it was
which one
Edward.
it was. Yeah,
I don't think it was, but Edward was the one that was known to sleep around and gamble and all that. So I don't know which other of the children of Victoria's children that would be. Anyway, so I just thought that was interesting. I love those little hints because he's never named or anything. It's just hinted at that he's there.
Fun. Hey, he's stumbling out of a room with Lily.
Yeah,
Lily is at it again.
So she sets him down, and while she's doing this, she realizes something's under the desk.
Yes, there's a little blonde-haired girl under there with her dolls. And right before he burst into the room, she's like, "Stay put and don't say a word." And she says, "And take my book and keep it for good, hide it."
Yes.
Which is perfect because he was given, the search warrant gives him, he's able to search anywhere.
Yeah.
So he basically, y'all, I just got chills thinking about it. He circles behind her and is all up close.
He tells her to stay there with her hands on the desk.
Hands on the desk. It's very dominant. Dom scene.
She does, because obviously she doesn't want to move. She has to hide Phoebe.
Right, she's hiding Phoebe.
But he does find one of the drawers where there was a hidden.
It's what was in
compartment.
here?
He's like, "What was in here?" She's like, "I don't know. I just inherited this.
I just walked in the door.
Anything. I don't know anything." And he's like, "I will find out all the shady things you're doing."
Yeah, and he does say, he's like, "I have an informant who has led those girls to here, so I know." And she's like, "Well, who's your informant?" He's like, "I don't have to list that." So I love, she's like, "Oh, so basically this warrant is based on hearsay and you were the judge of that." Yeah. I love how she kind of tosses it back at him. It's so good.
She's so good. So I love this. I love her little feisty self. And when he ends up by leaving because he didn't find anything, none of the men that he brought either found anything. There's a real school underneath there. You know what I'm
They're
saying?
actually girls being educated.
Yes, exactly. They have to leave. And after that, Jenny's like, "Oh my God, you're amazing."
That was awesome.
That was perfect. You just sent him packing. That's amazing. And she's like, "Oh my God, I have to, decipher these codes because if there is something that Henrietta knew about girls disappearing, about any of the
I need
people,
to know that.
I need to know."
So that is a fear of hers, is that she doesn't know her. Her Henrietta cared about her and educated her, but she doesn't know her as a person.
Yeah.
So she doesn't. She's like, what if she was involved with these girls going missing?
Or what if she knew about it and did nothing?
And didn't do anything?
What? I need to know what's in this book.
Yeah, something
code.
bad is going on in the city with these girls going missing.
Exactly.
And so So then she's invited to Alexandra and Redmayne's house for dinner. And she goes to dinner, and of course she finds out that his brother is coming.
Yes, she had just gotten through telling them what happened.
What happened?
She told them everything.
Yes,
what happened.
Which I love.
She's like, yes, they literally just like have each other's backs, like no holds barred, everything. And I can't remember if it was Alexandra or Francesca that suggested like, well, maybe you can just go homesick or whatever. But of course, before she can leave, he arrives and gets into the room with them.
Walks in the door.
And she's kind of like, oh my God, I don't want him to recognize me. Like, he's going to recognize me. And then what's going to happen? I don't know. So she's like, I don't know how good that disguise was. What if he sees me? And he's like, it's you.
Yeah.
So she's like so worried when he walks in and he's like staring at her. And she's like, oh God, he knows. He knows.
But he's staring at her because he's so enamored, enraptured.
So when she complains of a headache and Alexandra's like, oh,
anyway, what I do is
and he's like, I'll escort you.
that
you can use my carriage.
This one's
I'll escort you
done,
to
actually.
And she's like, no. He's like, I insist.
Oh my God. So, like, at this point, she's in her head, she's like, oh my God,
Then I
he's
put
about to accuse me. There's nothing they could do to save me if he's about to arrest me, like, outside or something. Like, it's so funny. It's like her little walk of doom. And meanwhile, he's just like, I just wanted to be alone with her.
Volleying questions about, like, what do you think of marriage?
She's like, wait, what the fuck?
Like,
happening?
So they have like a philosophical discussion about like the merits of marriage and also love. She believes in love, and she believes that that's hopeful and stuff, but she doesn't necessarily believe in marriage.
Well, she said, for me, I would lose everything. Yeah. She said, I'm a wealthy woman. I am not of the ton, so nobody cares what I do. You know, I'm basically more free than I've ever been. Why would I hand that over to a man?
Yeah.
You know?
And he's like, we kind of have something in common because I also view marriage in that same light, you know. But except he's considering marrying her at this point.
Of course, but that's all he can think about because he's like, the only way I can get her is to be her husband.
Exactly, because he's honorable. Like, he wouldn't like just, you know.
He doesn't want to seduce her.
No.
And we do get hints that something happened in his past. He keeps talking about the last debacle 7 years ago with his mistress.
He talks about his mom as well.
But
He's like, I've known terrible marriages, like terrible people.
She was terrible.
What they do in the name of love.
Yeah,
and so
she basically cuckolded.
Yeah,
I don't know how you say. Yeah, cuckolded.
That sounds funny.
Both Redmayne. I know.
I'm sorry. Cuckolded. It sounds like a made up last name in a historic romance book. Lord Cuckoldon.
Evan Cuckolded.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Of the Redmayne Moors. I'm sorry. I'm just making shit
That was fun. Okay,
anyway. She basically stooped Redmayne's father and his father. Now, his father was a merchant, was of lower class, not of high class.
There we go.
And the Duke
anyway, bye guys. I will see you next time. I will see you next time. Bye guys.